So a conference on e-governance and e-government is very important. One, simply because the fact that technology is growing at such an unprecedented scale, the opportunity to provide benefits to all segments of society through technology is becoming more and more realistic today. And therefore, for governments to invest in e-governance and e-government related activities makes a lot of sense. A conference like this starts the debate, gets policymakers to understand what the options are, and shares best practices from other parts of the world as to what is possible and not possible. Well, first of all, the technology has changed. With the technology changing, mobile becoming more accessible, penetration of technology and the cost of technology changing, the fact that so much work was done by the government itself of setting up rural access centers. Today, almost every state in India is providing e-governance related services to its citizens. So that has been a huge shift because people understand that by going on the net, you are able to cut down cost and you are increasing efficiency. So that has been a massive shift in this country. You're going to see more and more services that are electronic. You're going to see more and more efficiency that is being driven. You will see less rules and you will see more efficiency that is going to happen. So you will see that happening simply because the younger generation is so used to technology. For them to do anything else is not going to be possible. So the government will change and we will start getting services. It may be 5 years, 10 years, but it will happen. So at Microsoft and telecenter.org, we are focused on ensuring the capacity of individuals to use technology is there. So we set up these technology learning centers in all parts of the country and around the world so that people can learn how to use technology. But then those centers, which are training centers, are also becoming service centers in providing services that government wants to provide. We are also building the capacity of non-profit organizations to use the technology effectively and build their capacity so technology can be used. And third, we are promoting innovation in the development sector around technology so you can get more appropriate and relevant technologies being developed. And that's the work that we are doing through Microsoft and also telecenter.org, which is supporting those that are in the business of setting up telecenters. So what CDMS has done is that from very early on, it started publishing on the issue of e-governance, e-education, the digital divide, digital inclusion, e-health, issues. And by sharing this information and bringing together all of this knowledge and exchanging both through its publications and conferences, it is becoming a repository of exchange of knowledge, which is really the most effective thing that they're doing. So you think about, if you compare ICT to food or healthcare or water, you have a problem. Because clearly a person needs to eat first, have shelter first, have healthcare first, have water first. So that's not the way to think about it. But it is really, ICT is more around the issue of capacity building and training. Are you going to give your society the opportunity to get knowledge and access information in the most effective way or not? And if the answer is yes, then you're going to build the capacity of young people and other members of the community to now compete on a level footing with others. So that's how you will get people out of poverty, by providing them with knowledge, by providing them with information, by providing them with skills, so that they can then feed themselves and they can get health care and they can have the resources to live a better life. So that's the opportunity that is there. So in India itself, in the last decade, since the early part of 2000, there has been a tremendous effort made by the government to ensure that technology, information technology, communication technology is reaching the poor. and the underserved. I mean, the fact that, you've got mobile penetration in itself is a huge, benefit. The fact that you've got thousands and thousands of technology centers and learning centers that the government has set up, e-service centers, these are infrastructure that has been built. Not enough, but it is still there. The fact that the government has taken and put information on the web and put information on the internet and digitized its files, these are all important benchmarks for a country. So you will see, as technology changes, as technology improves, as processes improves, as more people become more comfortable using technology, mobile gets more and more penetration, the use of service will continue to grow exponentially. So in the next 5 or 6 years, you will see a very, a market shift on how the poor people are using technology to access government services. Yeah. So I think that there are a couple of things that are happening. One is, clearly, as a company, we are not in the business of providing connectivity. We provide technology and technology access, and we've got rural centers where we've set up access for people to have information in the most effective way. But the other thing that we are doing is that as much as we are a software company, we also do a lot of research and innovation. And one of the things that we are looking at in terms of expanding broadband penetration is looking at white spaces. White spaces are really spectrum that is available, that is being used by broadcast network. And you can use that because there is more space there. And through technology, you can now do digital transfers. And that's the research that we are doing to bring that cost down. Because if you can bring that cost down, then you can actually do far more effective penetration of broadband in rural areas. So that's the role that the company is playing, is really looking at research and then working with, those that design equipment to bring the cost down. I mean, today, you can't get away but with most people owning phones. Even in a village today, in most parts of the country, there is somebody that owns a mobile phone. The question becomes, how do you access that? So as mobile penetration becomes more and more effective, as cost of phones come down, as technology shifts from just web-based to SMS-based and text messaging as a way to access services, you will see mobile playing a far greater role in this space than it has played today. So, you've got to think about it from a slightly different perspective. E-governance is a process. E-governance is dependent on technology innovations happening. As technological innovations happen, the systems by which you can access services will continue to grow, and that's really where financial incentives come in. So policy needs to be changed, the government needs to put in resources, government should put in different kinds of standards so that you can have exchange taking place in a far more equitable manner. So I see those kinds of things that the government needs to do, because technology is changing, innovation will happen, and what government needs to do is to start looking at it and saying, how can services be extended on top of that, and what kinds of policies needs to be shifted so it becomes much more effective. I mean, I think that people are doing, one way you're going to change any divide is education. The more you educate people, the more you train people, the more the divide is going to be reduced. So the first issue is educate people. Today, most people, even to get education, ICT is a tool, not a destination. So if you start teaching people how to read, if you teach people how to write, if you teach people how to look at technology, you're already bridging the divide. And that's what is happening. Right? I mean, 10 years ago, the gap was even more. So as much as India is flourishing at the high end of technology, we also need to provide incentives for people to flourish at the lower end of the technology so that more people can get, participate in it. So look at two areas, right? Agriculture. Access of information is critical for farmers. Prices, what to grow, soil information, new information on technology, all of that today is being accessed through the net. So information technology can play a role by providing access in the most effective way and providing market and where to sell, at what price to sell, reduce inefficiencies and inequities, and also bring about a certain revolution around how do you transport your goods, where do you go to market. All of that can be done through efficiencies that comes through information technology. That improves your productivity, that brings more money into rural communities, it makes the rural communities a bit more wealthier. So that's one. Second is all about health. E-health is critical, and information technology plays a role in telemedicine and providing access to services around medicine, around health. It saves a person 10 hours to go to the hospital if all they needed was to talk to the doctor, and the doctor is going to say, do this, you will be fine, or get in a car or a bus and go to the nearest hospital. So these are all efficiencies that can come about because you now have access to information through the internet and through the web, which allows for data to be transmitted. So there are a number of ways in which we feel that a rural country will start benefiting far more, including education and distance learning. So those are three areas in which I think that rural India will benefit more because of the technology revolution. So we are looking, we are doing health from a much larger perspective of providing cloud-based services so that health records and health data can be stored effectively. So first, hospitals are able to use data and digitize data. Second, doctors are keeping records on the internet. And third, patients are able to access that information effectively. That's the work that Microsoft is doing from the high end. Now, from a research perspective, there is a lot of work that's also being done at Microsoft through handheld devices of accessing health information on handheld devices. So, but I'm not necessarily sure that those are going to become commercial products from Microsoft, but it might actually become products from local innovators who are going to take some of that research and provide services on top of that. So we are looking at health from two perspectives: high-end, large data sets, and lower-end, driving innovation. I think I would like to separate out these issues as to our plans around e-governance or e-health, but it's more about technology. What is the technology changing and how is software helping drive that? That's what Microsoft is interested in. We know that information today is in your hand, it's in your lap, and it's in your house. And all of that information needs to be shared and needs to be shared effectively. And software and cloud services can help you do that. And that's what Microsoft is focused on. But that has impact on health, it has impact on education, it has impact on governance, it has impact on microfinance, it has impact on data sets. So that's what we are excited about. So, I think all growth by nature should be inclusive. The fact that it is not inclusive is because there are distortions in the system. Right? Growth should be inclusive by design. But the reason it is not is because there are inefficiencies. Our hope is that by having technology and technology services available, you're reducing the inefficiencies. That's the simple thing, right? You have access to information, I have no access to information. So I'm at a disadvantage. If we can level the playing field, because rural India also has access to the same information, now you can have a better chance of inclusive growth. So that's the way to think about it. I think that the dream in some ways is very simple. Let's make sure that as we innovate with technology, we do less harm and we do more good. And to do more good, we have to ensure that we are in communities, working with communities, understanding the needs of the communities, and getting the community to participate with you. So that's my philosophy. It's ensure that you do less harm. I think there are a number of people that have been role models, right? I mean, part of them is you look at individuals like Bill Gates who developed technology but have extended the use of technology in a completely different direction. Or you look at some of world leaders, whether it is, Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King, who looked at inclusiveness as a major issue for them. And how do you reduce inequities? So that's really, who I look at when I think about what kind of work we are doing, how are we going and approaching this work. And it all again comes back to that very simple philosophy. Make sure that whatever you do is doing very little harm. And then you'll be fine.